Hey, it's Patrick, Crossroads Coastal Inspections, and I've got a treat for you today. Um, I'm going to give you a video presentation in PowerPoint form. I know it's probably the worst way to watch a video in the history of man because PowerPoint can be boring, but the truth of the matter is it's really the only way that I can show you the pictures I want to show you and explain to you what I'm looking at versus just posting some pictures on my blog or posting some verbiage and then you trying to figure it out on your own. I want you to be able to see what I see from the ground and from the roof and some of the red flags that I notice when I'm doing a home inspection slash roof inspection as a roof inspector. Um, so the backstory on this was I was asked by a homeowner from Pennsylvania. He called me on the phone and said, "Hey, look, we're buying a house in Tarrant Woods where you live. We would like to have a home inspection. It's brand new construction." And I was like, "Well, that's sure." And he was like, "Do you recommend it?" And I said, "I certainly do, uh, just because of really what you're going to see in this video." Uh, so went over to the guy's house. They were still doing some punch items inside. He was still in, I think, Pennsylvania is where he's from. And I started my inspection, and I always start on the outside. So there's a little bit of a conflict that I run into as a home inspector. Obviously, I have to inspect the roof, but as a home inspector, you're not expected to go nearly as in depth as I did on this roof. You just have to make sure that the roof's installed properly and that it's functional. If it's not leaking, it's functional. Um, but as a roof inspector, if I see red flags or little telltale signs that are saying, "Hey, something ain't right here," I will certainly get on that roof and dig into it because I can't let that go. So that's the backstory on it. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, we're on the next slide. So as a home inspector, I'm walking around, I'm looking at the cladding, I'm looking at the soffit, I'm looking at the windows, I'm looking at the ground, I'm looking at the landscape. You get the idea. So the one thing I do, obviously, is when I'm looking up at this soffit area, this right here, soffit box, it's on the rake, but it's basically the same stuff. I'm looking for this shingle overhang, this right here. Now, as a roofer and probably as a home inspector, most home inspectors would note that as being way too much shingle. So typically a shingle overhang is, according to manufacturer's spec, should be a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch long. That overhang is about 1.5 to 2 inches, which is double what they want. If you look in the right-hand side, this right-hand picture over here, that's a 1/2 inch. That's on another house. It's not the same one, but it's a good representation of what a 1/2 inch overhang should look like. It's neat, it's clean, it's tight. Um, it's the way it's supposed to be. So if you'll notice, the difference between that one and this one is you got this sticking up. You got this here is what they call starter strip, and we'll get into that on the next slide. This is already sagging. You got this little piece sticking up, so it's just sloppy. And then the kicker on top of all this is I'm walking down this rake or this side of the house, the same roof line. This roof line is also this roof line. So what I noticed as I walked down is the shingle just disappeared over here. Like I can't see this shingle from the ground because it's cut too far back. And what that tells me is that the roof probably wasn't squared, they didn't chalk lines, and if they're that sloppy there on stuff that you're going to see, what else did they mess up? So that's why I started digging. That's my red flag as that this is going to be a problem. So the next question you may have is, what's the big deal about the overhang? Well, in construction, you have wind load. And in wind load, there's 3 forces that play into construction. You've got your uplift, which is what, as a roofer, I'm concerned with. You've got your shear, and you've got lateral forces that the wind apply to the structure. So with the uplift, what happens is wind moves up your wall, comes out through here, clips this shingle right here, and it'll fold it back. So that's how in storms, hurricanes, especially here at the coast, the roof will start to peel off. So it's really essential that your roof looks more like this over here on the right. 1/2 inch here at the coast, the tighter the better. It's less likely that the wind's going to get up under it and peel it back. So then you wonder why wouldn't it be like this? There's a whole other series of issues with that, but the biggest problem with wind uplift like this is it actually creates a high pressure and a low pressure kind of situation. So when the wind blows against this picture over here, it's not actually blowing the shingles down or lifting them up. The high pressure, low pressure, they're trying to they're trying to balance each other out. So what happens is you've got wind pushing here, and then as it goes across the roof, you've actually got wind pulling. So it's trying to literally suck the roof off the house. So those are the factors that lead into why you got to have the right number of nails. They got to be nailed in the right place, and we'll get into more of that in some of the other slides I got coming up on some of the other presentations. And just so you know, this was a 20-minute presentation, and I broke it down into 3 videos, so you don't have to sit here and listen to 20 minutes of this stuff. But like I said, I do feel like it's something that homeowners need to know, home buyers need to know. I mean, if you're getting a brand new home, you would think that the roof would be exactly the way it should be, and in this case, it wasn't. So those are the factors. You got your overhang. You got your overhang here that's twice the recommended length. You've got this cut wrong, and it should all kind of look like this. And you got all the wind forces or the wind uplift playing into some of these factors. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what we've got here is you can look here at this middle picture. Here's your overhang, which is excessive right here. And then this picture over in the right is your starter strip, which I mentioned in the last slide. This is starter strip. It's 6 to 8 inches wide. You've got these bond lines that run along right here. And these bond lines or tar strips are designed so that the shingle over here in the middle, when it lays down, it'll lay down right here like this, and then it bonds to this tar, and that's what keeps everything tight at your perimeter. So with them having way too much overhang, you're already going to put stress even if you've got the right product, but they didn't even use the right product. And if you'll notice on the middle slide, there's no bond line there on this shingle. It should be about right here at the eave. There's no bond line, and that's because they actually used a shingle rather than actual starter strip. There's a whole lot of reasons why a builder would use, or a subcontractor for the roof would use shingles rather than starter strips. Starter strips a little expensive, but it's cheap for what you get. But it's just easier to take, it's less material, and it's easier to just take a shingle, flip it around, stick it in there upside down, and say it's good, and it's not, for the reasons I already pointed out. Plus, if you notice in the right hand side here, you've got your nails that are visible right here and right here. Those nails should be an inch and a half to 4 inches max, depending on the manufacturer. The closer, the better. If you notice back here in the middle slide, this area right here, that's almost 6 inches. From here to probably the first shingle. To be honest with you, I couldn't even see the first, not the first shingle, to the first nail. I couldn't even see the nail. So that could be 7 inches back. And the fact that they've used a whole shingle, and how I know they used a whole shingle rather than cutting it down, and people do that, and like I said, that's a whole nother thing. If you look at this picture on the left, this right here is a whole shingle. The way I know that is these 2 little white lines right here is your nail strip. So if you're putting down the whole shingle, that's where you would put your nail. So they took this shingle, flipped it around. Here's the color match to the shingle. This is the headlap of the shingle, and they've run it up this rake right here to serve as a starter strip. So they've used, here in the middle, they've used a whole shingle. There's no telling where they put that nail, to be honest with you, that first nail. It may be the first nail in the shingle that's holding both of them down. The other thing they did wrong here on the left-hand picture is let's look at the right-hand picture first. If you look at the right-hand picture, you've got your eave right here, and you got your rake. Notice how this goes over this one. That's so when the water comes down your roof here, if it gets underneath your shingle and it comes down your roof, it just laps over that and it runs out the bottom. Now go back to the left. See this right here? This right here is their next starter strip. So not only did they use the wrong product, they lapped it backwards. So now if water blows in under the side of these shingles and it runs down what would be a starter strip, it's also going to run under this, and then that gets into your felt and your underlayment and your decking. So there's another problem. So they've got all kinds of issues with this roof. And we're just getting started. So like I said, I broke this down into multiple videos, and but these were the first 2, and this is what got me on the roof and got me to digging. The thing I want you to understand is that most people presume that a new new roof, new construction, the roof is going to be right. A lot of homeowners will do a final walkthrough with the builder and they do punch items inside, but it's rare that a homeowner will look up at the roof or get on the roof and ensure that that's the way it's supposed to be. Home inspectors are supposed to do that for you. And a lot of them do. As a roofer, a prior roofer, I would get home inspections and they would point out issues, so I know they get on the roof. But the biggest thing is don't just assume that because it's a new roof, it's right. My number's on this slide. My webpage is on this slide. If you go to my webpage, you can access my email there. You can shoot me an email if you got questions. But if you have anything, just reach out to me and let me know, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Give the video a like. Please share it. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll keep putting content like this on here. And if you've enjoyed this part of the video, or if you've learned anything, I've got 2 more that's coming right behind it. Let me know what you think. I appreciate everything you do, and I hope everybody has a great day. I'll talk to you soon.